Hey there, YouTube. Today I wanted to talk about wet, dry, wet and some changes that I made. We did our first remote and I got to use this amplifier I built for the center channel. So I run what's called a 2.1 or a wet, dry, wet. And what that is a stereo rig with the PA system having a real fancy modern amp modeler that also has digital effects in stereo. But I like to run another center amp that's mono in the middle. And that one doesn't have all the doodah effects. It's just the guitar's natural, brilliant tone, really bright and really accentuated in the middle. So you get the best guitar tone with a wet, dry, wet. If you don't have that center channel, you just have all the digital effects. A lot of your guitar's natural brilliance, the harmonics and the overtones, like if you're playing a Strat with single coils, there's this magical stuff that goes on that you lose that when you run it through all the advanced processing and ping pong delays. The more the effect you load on, the more that you lose. So what guitar players have done, some guitar players have done this. They'll have another amp in the center that doesn't have all the doodah effects. It's just a tone beast. And that way, you've got this monolithic, really great sounding guitar tone. And then all the effects are going on kind of more in the background. That's where it's at. That's beyond Pink Floyd. That's really like Steve Stevens, the guy from uh, Billy Idol, his guitar player, is a wet, dry, wet guy. He has some rig rundowns where he demonstrates his wet, dry, wet rig, and it's 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 something else. So when I heard that, immediately wanted to experiment with it, and there is some things you have to take care, and that's how you split the signal. You can't do it passively. You have to build or obtain a method of actively splitting the guitar into two channels. It's not passive. So the passive way to do it would be with a Y cable, where you just plug the guitar in and into a Radio Shack splitter, just a little plastic splitter that splits the signal passively. And what you get out of the passive split is the guitar signal comes out as one. You split it into two. Well, now it's two and it's half as strong and half as much treble. So it's a duller, weaker signal, and that's no good. Can't have that. So I have built a couple active splitting devices with using little buffer amplifiers. Basically, it comes in, maybe it hits a buffer, and then there's two more buffers for the split. And so there'll be a 9-volt battery in this little splitter. It's basically like a pedal that doesn't have any knobs, just has jacks on it. You plug it in, and it powers itself up with an internal battery. And there's an input, and then on the other side of the pedal, there's two outputs. So you'll run one cable to your stereo rig, and then one cable to your mono rig. Now, when we went out this last time, and I've tried many different things. I've built a bunch of amps that have different front ends. It'll have a clean boost pedal and then a modern high gain pedal in front of a Class D amplifier to power the speaker. And then the Class D amplifier will have an EQ in it. It's a way that I've done it. I did one, it was a Marshall Super Lead 100 watt, the preamp, but instead of tubes, you use JFETs, which is it's a transistor which on paper it behaves similarly to the way that a vacuum tube behaves. So they make for really good sounding little preamp circuits. And I paired that with an actual spring reverb tank. So you have spring reverb. That was my favorite center channel amp. I use something called the Carl Martin Plexitone, which has, it sounds just like a Marshall. And it has two gain stages and then a boost. So you can go clean, boosted, gain 1, and then gain 2, which is a heavy metal sound, you know, and then with the boost. So it's like, it's a lot for one device. It's a pedal like this big with 3 main toggles on it, and then, or foot switches, and then knobs to adjust the level of each toggle, each stop switch. And that was probably my favorite as far as the sound. Really sounded good. So this last time we went out, I'm going to show you, we're going to switch over to a picture mode now, and I'll show you. So this is that amplifier. This is the little main center channel speaker. And what you can't see over here is the splitter box. But as you can see, there's some pedals here that I'm running. There's a noise gate, and that just shuts it off so it doesn't hiss when I'm not playing. And then it goes to this, which is a SOL 918. This has distortion, overdrive, delay, which is an echo, and then a reverb, which the reverb was really awful. So I had my own reverb pedal. And this also has an effects loop, and I ran an amp modeler, which is a Joyo American sound. So this has a 3-band EQ. It has a tilt EQ on it for the mid shape, like a contour knob. And this is a fantastic pedal. This is an amp modeling pedal that models the old Fender amps. And it's just a phenomenal $30 pedal. That's the best sounding little clean to medium, or like if you like Fender overdrive sound, that's what this is. But it isn't good for metal. And then the buying Baby Boom Tri-Verb. This is a stereo reverb. I'm running it in mono. Just a phenomenal sounding subtle reverb pedal. Really a great reverb. So noise gate, amp modeling, which has some distortion in it, built-in distortion in this, overdrive, which I do run the overdrive as a boost. And then there's this delay. I know you're not supposed to have a real lot of effect. I would run a tasteful amount of reverb and delay on here, because I just can't handle having dry center channel. I like to have something there to pad it out. So here's a little bit better look at this SOL 19 distortion. So you have level, distortion, tone, volume, drive, and tone. This is overdrive is more like a clean boost. Here's your effects loop, toggle, and LED. And these two pedals are in the loop. So the signal comes up and hits the noise gate, goes to the input of the SOL 918, comes out, goes through the American sound and through the reverb back in here. And then there's this delay and the reverb that I did not use. Not the best picture, so I've got a little bit better of an angle shot for you guys here. And this worked really exceptionally well. I gotta say, I was thrilled with my guitar tone until we went to play the songs that have the high gain modern metal. And so what I would do at that point, I would turn the PA up and turn the center channel amp down. I would run a bunch of gain on this setup here with these 3 pedals. Try to get the best what I could do, but it's not a modern sound. So I really did not want to turn this into a thing and have to program another multi-effect, but that's exactly what I've done. So the next time out, we are going to be running this in place of all of the pedals that sit on top of the amp. I probably will maybe I'll run this sitting sitting just up here like this. Just run the little power cable because I've got auxiliary power coming out of the amp, meaning here's the amplifier. This is the main power input for 24 to 26 volt input. Here's the power amp out to power the speaker, and then this one is 9 volts. So I can have just a cable come up here to power this 9 volt. And then I could just have a run my input up to this input here and have just a short patch cable going down, coming out of the G3 multi-effector into, oh, it's the front or the side of the amp. I don't know. I might put this on the ground. I've got a longer cable. I've got a longer DC cable to come out of here and go into this. So I could set this on the ground. That way I can just use my foot, advance to the next song, and then go to the multi-effector for the, no, I'll have 2 multi-effectors that I have to advance. So I made a patch for each song, and I used Fender, Vox, Matchless, which is a modified Vox, and then their modern high gain amp model is called the Alien in here. And also they have one that's called, there's a few. There's like a Bogan. So it's all different amp models that I use to give me a little different flavor out of this device. And the clean sounds that you get when you run an amp modeler, like I said before, I was using the Joyo American Sound, and I was raving about how great of an analog amp modeling pedal that is. It really is great. And for getting that little bit of grit that you want, where it's still clean, but it's not perfectly clean, like when you dig in, it distorts a little bit. That's kind of what I'm going for. So if you're just running your guitar out of the splitter right into this, you're going to be missing all of that. You're not going to have any of that wonderful stuff. So unfortunately, you do kind of need something for your center channel amp. And this is why most guys would actually use a tube amp for that. With a foot switch for clean and dirty channel, you know. I don't have that luxury because we're playing remote and everything is off of battery pack. That's why I do things the way that I do, and I have to use an amp modeler. But it also makes it affordable, you know. This amp modeler, I paid $110 for that Zoom G3, and it's a wonderful amp modeler. That's wonderful. It's just not as new as some of the newer ones. The newer ones have a little bit higher fidelity, but it sounds phenomenal. It sounds great, and I get enough variety out of it. There's that thing has a real lot of effects. You get your choice of all kinds of different reverbs. They have this thing called primary reflection, early reflection reverb system. It's so unbelievably cool. It does a reverse, like an inverse sound. That's super trippy. So, you know, as far as having stuff that I'm like turning on and off within the patches, I'm already doing that on my main multi-effector. So I was like, oh, I'm going to have this stepped phaser that I'll put on just for that one part. And it's like, well, you're already turning something on the other effector. So don't make it where you have to do 2 things and then 2 off. That's, you know, if I had a roadie, I could. But as far as, I think this is about it for me. Like, this is the rig I'm going to be using. And maybe at some point I can change over and use the MG300. Or if I get another newer multi-effect, I can switch over and use the MG30 for my center channel. But we'll see how that goes. I'm not planning on investing in another system and having to learn and program that. It's a mind-numbing amount of work as it already is. So that's my wet, dry, wet rig rundown. If you have any questions, I'd be more than willing to do what I can. Ultimately, I don't like answering stuff in the YouTube, so it's better if you email me. And you can find my email. If you look, you can find it on this channel. So that's kind of like, if you're not willing to take the time to find my email address on here, I'm not willing to take the time to help you, because I don't troubleshoot people's problems through the comment section on YouTube videos. I don't do that. Anyway, you guys, I won't ask you to do much, but I will ask you to hug your pets and peace.